Peace, peace. How's everybody doing? This is your brother and friend, Yeshaya Israel, and giving honor and praise unto the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. We call this one here, do not be complacent. And brothers and sisters, what do we mean when we say that in that particular matter, in that particular case? This is not to be per se, quote unquote, philosophical or anything of that kind of sort, but rather, brothers and sisters, a matter of presenting things to the people for understanding purposes, if we will. So, without any further ado, let us get into this. Thank you for that, family. We hope and we pray that everybody is well and will be better. We are going to take out the time now and share the screen and what we're talking about for reference purposes. Thank you for that, family. And we ask you all to comment, to like, to share, and to subscribe. Thank you for that. Do not become complacent. Go and be great. Shalom. Giving honor to the Creator. We ask you all to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Now, the picture that you saw earlier was when Trump was being interviewed. And many people have spoken, even myself, upon that interview. He did not address the questions that were being asked about January 6th. He did not address the matter with the lady who was murdered essentially by the police in Illinois. He did not address the matter of what he meant by, quote, black jobs. Those who saw the interview know. So the reason why I kept that up there was for people to stay, look, and see upon that particular matter in that particular case. He became, and I'm using this as an example, complacent. He became not being productive. He became thinking that everything will, quote, go one's way without being careful on how one moves in a particular matter. So how does that relate to what we're talking about? To my knowledge, he's now deceased, but the guy, Don Imus, who referred to the women on the basketball team by a term that was not the nicest, he apologized, and he apologized, and he apologized. And it became to a point where he just simply stated, I apologize enough. You have people who are givers. And what essentially happens is there are people who will be givers and will say that he or she has given enough. So with those kind of matters and going and not becoming complacent, all of that ties into the matter of what? Do not be like Trump and not addressing the matter. If anything, be like Don Imus, who did an offensive thing, not that you should offend, but apologize to where it's like, you know what, I apologize enough. You're not going to keep on saying, like Sharpton brought his own child there and said, and I'm going to cite it by asking a man, is his daughter a nappy-headed hoe? You understand? That right there is just something that bitter people would do. that saddened people would do, to just have a thing go on and on and on. And we only live one life. And many of us are over 30. Many of us know people who did not make it to even 50 or 60. So, though we do want to live, we want to live in growing and becoming great. When energies are around that prevents that, these are things that we care to sit there and talk about for reference purposes. Israel. The brothers of Joseph did not forgive themselves. So this is why, even though Joseph basically was saying, you meant it for good, but God meant it for you, pardon me, you brothers meant it for bad, but God meant it for good. Even Joseph representing and speaking upon the Most High, they still could not forgive themselves for what they did. And that right there is serious. And so never subjugate yourself to not forgive yourself of a matter when you came with a sincere matter and apologies. There's no way that you can go and be great by always being subjugated. That's why it's called subjugate. Sub means under, being under one's foot, being a doormat, being disrespected, and so forth and so on. For those who follow the channel or who know, I was speaking upon my childhood. And in part of it, I was speaking upon how I was a thief. I'm no longer a thief. It's to the point where, brothers and sisters, I have borrowed and loaned. I have paid back. And I have loaned and not been paid back. You understand? And I say all of that to say that if I had stayed under the subjugation of you're a thief, you're a thief, you're a thief, whoever he or she is that knows something of you or your past and keeps on trying to sit there and use it as a catalyst is one, a manipulator, and is not a good friend. So you have to separate from that kind of spirit and from that kind of energy and so forth. You understand? You have it to where, like David in the Bible stated to God to not deliver him in the hand of man because man has no mercy. And we're talking about an act that David did was murder after committing adultery, which is not the smallest offenses. And even he, after that, still had the heart to talk to the Most High. So don't let nobody try to judge you on your relationship with the Most High God. If you know that you was X, Y, and Z, don't sit there and let somebody try to bring you, say, back into that. I'm not the biggest fan of Tyler Perry, but he can care less, and I understand that. A movie that he did that had Keisha Knight, who played Rudy when she was a child in the Cosby Show, right? One of the things in that thing, I think it's called Medea Goes to Jail or some kind of movie like that. The person who played Rudy before that was a former prostitute, brothers and sisters. And somebody tried to bring her back to where she was. People respect Malcolm X. Malcolm X used to be a hustler. People respect Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou used to be a prostitute. My point is, don't be around those who sit there and try to bring you back from which you have come from. Imagine if somebody, instead of giving you a pair of undergarments, they give you a pamper. That's an insult. I no longer wear that. I'm not a baby. So I'm stating, brothers and sisters, in this, do not again let anyone bring you back to where you have come from. That's not good. He or she, in layman's terms, is what you can call a hater. You understand? See, the thing is, earlier in showing that thing with Trump and the black journalist, is he never apologized for the things that he was guilty of or the things that he has stated. So there's a difference in that particular case. I stated some time ago, the same day in which I got consolation in spirit when I went to where my mother, may she rest in peace, is buried at. And I want to speak upon that in a second. And that is this. You only live, as stated, one life. And how do you want to live that life? I remember times getting a spanking from my mother and getting money the same day and going outside. And these are people, our parents, who we are told to give reverence and honor to. So if it is on that particular level, then don't allow an employer, a friend, an acquaintance, anyone on this earth bring you back from where you have come from. It would be disrespectful, as I see my brother Yirmiyahu who wrote on the thing, all praise to the Most High, told by Aki. Oquir told, meaning good morning, Aki. Aki meaning my brother. If somebody were to come, peace to you too, my brother. If somebody were to come online and say, hey, how you doing, Brother Vincent? I'd be like, what? Why would you sit there and do that? I'm not a Muslim. But when somebody listening, correct me if I'm wrong, called the man calling himself Muhammad Ali, it was a form of disrespect. Don't bring me back to that. When Malcolm X was asked about what is the name of your father, my father didn't know his name. What's his response? So we say X as the unknown in that particular case. My point is there are people, and Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, and these other people, Maya Angelou, whom I've mentioned, are all now deceased. So there's been decades long of people trying to bring you back to where you've come from. And that right there is a horrible situation. Do not become complacent, giving honor to the Creator. Don't let nobody judge your relationship with the Most High God, because they don't know your relationship with the Most High. They don't know the Most High enough to even know his relationship with you. So he or she does not have that jurisdiction to sit there and state, or how do you sit there and deal and feel about, yeah, the Most High did not tell you to sit there and be like that in that particular case. Was Isaac with Rebekah when she went to consult of Yah concerning her pregnancy? Was Eli with Hannah when she went to consult the Most High about having a baby? Sometimes those closest to you may not even know a particular matter or so. There is a part in the scriptures, in the book of Numbers, brothers and sisters, where the Creator asked, Moses, my servant, is trusted in all my house. Wherefore were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? That is in Numbers chapter 12 in the Bible. That's in Numbers chapter 12. That question was not answered. What am I trying to point out? Not everything has an answer. So if you can sit there and be asked a question, and the question sits there, brothers and sisters, and makes you think upon a matter, do not, brothers and sisters, get into it to where you're asked again and again and again and again when everything does not have an answer. Some questions, if you will, is just made for you to sit back and think upon a particular matter. And that is something, brothers and sisters, that we care to bring out for reference purposes, if we will. I'm going to edit the privacy on a Facebook one, brothers and sisters. This is not going to be intended to be long, brothers and sisters, but we do want to sit there and speak upon this for reference purposes, if we will. Thank you for that. Don't become complacent because things could be worse, but rather get busy because things could be better. We need, brothers and sisters, this kind of matter. Don't sit there and allow a situation to just sit there and make you, well, it just is what it is. No, you have the power, brothers and sisters, to sit there and change it. The Creator of heaven and earth stated to the prophet Moses, before the sea opened, and said, wherefore criest thou to me? Put the rod in your hand over the river. The Creator, who doesn't want anyone to call on an idol, is saying to his prophet, why are you crying out to me? There are things already in your hand that you have the power to do. Jacob told his son, why are you sitting here looking at each other? I heard that there's bread in Egypt. Go and do that. Joshua chapter 18 is where it speaks about Israel just sitting and not getting what is truthfully theirs. Go and be great. Don't listen to the complacent people who sit there and like, well, it is what it is. No, don't bring me to that. And I hope to be a light so you won't be brought to that, brothers and sisters. You understand in that particular case. Now, if a brother was complacent, a brother, not to get too personal, would have been at the same job where one was unhappy, as opposed to saying not being funny. When they make one job, they make two. There are things out there for those who are looking for X, Y, and Z. I have a friend who is well off. And one of the things my friend stated is poverty taught him how to go and be great. See, you can't do that with a mentality that says, I can't, I won't, I shouldn't. You can't do that being around people who, just using myself as an example, you was a thief, I know that. You didn't know that unless I told you what I was doing when I was a child, but I'm not that anymore. You understand in that particular case. And it's not to be racial, but if you look at Don Imus, who apologized for his offense, and then you look at Donald Trump, both of them being, for the lack of a better term, white men. One apologized, the other one refused to do so. You sat there and said concerning the Central Park Five that they should be put to death, and they were innocent, come to find out. But you didn't apologize for even making that kind of statement. You spoke upon certain things that the interviewer in the Black Journal interview matter that was online, say last month, when they asked you about January 6th, and they sat there and they asked you about the woman who was killed by the police, murdered by the police party, and so forth and so on. You sit there and talk about the situation about there being good people on quote both sides. You sat there and talked about the police who are guilty. They should sit there and be essentially exonerated or so forth and so on. And you don't offer any apology for that. So not being racial, but if you just take those two white men, Don Imus and Donald Trump, they have a different character. They both said things that were out of place. One apologized, one can be forgiven for such, and the other one refuses to apologize. So what do you do when you do offer apology and it's not accepted? And you know you're sincere in it, you did your portion. You can't do no more. You can't make people forgive you. You understand? Nor should you stay around in situations where people will continue to want to use that as a catalyst against you. Because that person who does that is complacent in your wrong. You did the wrong. You apologize. Let me get a bit for the brothers and sisters who do know. I went on, and this is no fault of anybody else's platform. I went on a channel, Maccabees TV, for those who do know. And I offended back in 2016, and I'm gonna shout his name out in respect, the brother Chief Uziel, who goes to the congregation and helps run the congregation DCB. I spoke about him. I didn't mention his name, but for those who know. Now, again, this is no disrespect to Maccabees TV, because they didn't sit there and say, hey, Yeshaya, go and offend your brother. They didn't sit there and do that. I chose to go and speak upon something that I should not have done in that particular manner. So before I can sit here and go and observe Passover in 2018 with the people from the congregation DCB, which I did, having offended in 2016, you have to come with an apology first. So I looked up DCB, the congregation, for those who do know, and I sat there and I called the brother Chief Uziel. I said, Shalom, Mikey. I said, Shalom. I'm no longer part of a congregation, and Passover is coming, and I would like to sit there and find out if I can sit there and go. But let me also say, let me apologize for the offense I did. See, I just couldn't come with, I said, well, Pastor, or shall attend. So I'm here. And because I did that, no knock on Maccabees TV, this is what I myself did. Because I did it online, you have to apologize online. You don't do and offend something that is incorrect on the internet and then apologize off the internet. No, that's what you call an unbalanced weight. That's how you can in part tell whether a person is genuine inside of an offense. Because if I offended my brother, which I did on the internet, and then I apologize not on the internet, then what are you doing? What are you saying? How can you possibly show face in that particular case when you know good and well that you went out like a coward? That you didn't have the heart to sit there as a brother, a man, as a lady, a woman, and say, that was my bad. I stand corrected. Can you forgive me? And off camera, the brother told me that he did forgive me. And we wound up being able to move on and talk. So these are things to point out, bringing the book to real life and what we can speak upon for reference purposes, if we will. Don't become complacent because there are those who do. Things could be worse. When you find people, for example, telling you, you need to just accept anything that comes to you because there are those that are worse. No. You can't, brothers and sisters, do this part here, go and be great. You can't go and be great listening to people telling you that things could be worse. I want to emphasize that, if I may. You cannot, brothers and sisters, go and be great listening to people who are telling you things could be worse. How can you ever possibly grow in that case? You understand? So these are certain things that telling my loved one, my biological family, telling my lady that I'm going to need some time to self-evaluate. Now, I don't know how family or loved ones took it, but I'm going to go to bed early and I'm going to sit back and think on matters. Oh, and no, I'm not saying I'm a prophet. You understand? And after that, I woke up with a certain kind of mindset and spirit to want to sit there and present this to the brothers and sisters. You understand? I told people on the internet, I should have left Israel when my mother died, say 20 years ago. Israel, not the Most High. The camps, the congregations, the drama, the disrespect, X, Y, and Z. And that is what I mean in that particular case. I didn't, but I do now. So, and I make the statement of saying essentially, a brother leaving Israel. What one is saying is not saying one is going to start working on the Sabbath, one is going to start eating pork, one is going to start bowing down to idols. It is what? Not to become complacent. When the only time people can say shalom is on the Shabbat, and any other time it's the hell with you. Nah. Over 35 years in this, I can say at 44, I remember being inside the congregation at 4 and 5 years old, literally 4 and 5 years old. Once you can, and no disrespect intended, go through that. We just can't be Shabbat Shalom. It has to be more than that, brothers and sisters. So again, family, don't become complacent because, quote, things could be worse. And the people who say to you that essentially you should just stay where you at because it could be worse, does not care about your growth. It is a hater. Better advice is get busy which means you're using the 6 working days, O house of Israel. Get busy because things could be better. As stated, as of recent, last night, I told my immediate family and I told my lady, I'm not going on some kind of spiritual or anything hiatus, but just need to self-evaluate certain things that have been happening, and it's not even drama. It's to sit there and sit back like you read in the scriptures. In quietness and stillness, you will find your God. I'm going to state, as the prophet Isaiah stated, in quietness and stillness, you will find your God. Everything can't be jamboree party. Everything can't be, we're doing the music. Sometimes you just need that quiet time for self. Sometimes some couples need it for self. That's why they go on vacations and so forth. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we want to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. Thank you. Let's continue. A solution. We are currently looking for a brother who can read Hebrew and assist in the lesson. Contact me, 908-587-4841. I posted this when doing a presentation some months ago. I've asked brothers, sisters, all being adults, do you know anybody who can assist when we're going over the language? And I found a person, brothers and sisters. Him, that's me. Sometimes when trying to sit and seek the help, and it may not be there, you may have to just sit back and look at yourself. And no, I'm not comparing myself to the prophet Moses. But when it says, you will go and speak to the people, and you will sit there and speak to Pharaoh. The statement is, can you send someone else? Then who you will send. And it says in Exodus that the anger of Yah was kindled against Moses. Because when you have a particular mission, and you're saying, can I sit there and get the help? The Most High is not going to give you anything that you cannot handle, because he already knows the potential that he made you in. So me asking some months ago online, currently looking for a brother who can read Hebrew to assist. Again, I've asked brothers, sisters, inbox, text message, online, offline. And the solution about who can sit there and assist is the person you see on the right-hand side. Glory to the Most High God. It looks like when going over the Hebrew, I'm going to have to go over it while I'm doing the presentations myself. And that's the responsibility that you can't be upset about if that is your portion. See, there are those who seek answers, and then there are those who seek solutions. Let me give an example. Heaven forbid, somebody has, and I know this may go way out there. Heaven forbid, somebody may have gonorrhea. Just using that as an example. Right? The answer can be a bad blood transfusion. The answer can be precarious sexual activity. That's the answer. Now, for this person, male or female, who happens to have, I know this is a stretch, gonorrhea, what is the solution now that you know what it is, you know how he or she acquired it? What is the solution for such? That is the next question. But there are those who don't understand, and I say in no disrespect, the matter, who don't understand about not becoming complacent, but go and becoming great, who will tell you things can be worse. Well, it could be the HIV, so you just be okay with the gonorrhea. You hear me? That kind of spirit in that particular case. But rather get busy which means Israel, you're working and on the 6 working days because things could be better. So don't sit there and settle for something just because it's not where you want it to be. Go and achieve that in that particular case. Now, in a situation, not as serious as an STD, but just talking about a matter of a brother or who have you, looking for someone to assist in regarding the Hebrew when reading, when there are multiple Hebrew readers in Israel, you still got to look at self in certain cases. The answer is right there. But that would require not being around the energy that wants to tear you down. See, I couldn't go online and speak upon being, say, a Hebrew teacher if I'm always around people. You was a thief. Ooh, you did that to your mama. You did that to your papa. Ooh, you wasn't even the best father. See, if you consistently allow that kind of thing to come to you, how can you ever go and be great? How can you ever better yourself? Listening and entertaining those who have the spirit to always want to, yeah, and I'm going to tell you because my mouth is lethal, then you need to keep your mouth to yourself and your lethal matters and change with that, because we as a people are told to love one another as we love ourselves, which means that you don't sit there and castigate and down somebody. Case in point, we are Hebrews, most of the people who listen to this. If I sit there and speak upon you can't read Hebrew or write Hebrew, how would you feel about that? That's the question. If a brother would sit there and say, you know what, you can't read it or write it, so just by default you're illiterate. That's not nice. That's not how you portray things to people. Quit told my brother Adonian. You understand? I'm on the Facebook profile, Yeshaya off the day night, and YouTube, Maury Yeshaya history lessons and Maury Yeshaya Torah lessons. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we want to point out for reference purpose. Bring it back to the house of Israel. Now, here's the reason why I'm going over this, loving history. Judah Maccabee was leader from 165 to 160 BCE. In the time of his leadership, the issue of the Beth Zur occurred. That was a battle. This war led to the institution of Hanukkah. Jonathan Maccabee was a leader from 160 to 142 BCE. During this time, the Greeks lost 2 wars to Rome, and Rome won 1 war, Punic War 3. That's the matter with the people in Carthage. Simon Maccabee was leader from 142 to 134 BCE. During this time, Rome was on the scene and Greece was out of the bracket. After Simon passed, his son John Hyrcanus was leader. This is the same Hyrcanus who was noted in Josephus for making the Edomites convert to the ways of the Hebrews/Israelites. It goes on to say, he was leader from 134 to 104 BCE. During his time is when the War of Jugurtha in North Africa occurred in 105 BCE. Also, in the same era, Carthage was rebuilt by Rome in 129 BCE. The sons of John Hyrcanus were Judah Aristobulus, who was leader from 104 to 103 BCE, and Alexander Jannaeus, who was leader from 103 to 76 BCE. A woman leader, lady, was ruler too from the era after Jannaeus, from 76 to 67 BCE. Her name was Salome Alexandra. The children of Salome and Alexander were Aristobulus, who was leader from 67 to 63 BCE, and then John Hyrcanus II from 63 to 40 BCE. By this time, Rome is heavily on the scene, and in 63 BCE, Rome makes Jerusalem a Roman province. Pompey was assassinated, but no one missed him, to be candid. Tacitus records that Pompey was the first Roman to enter the Jerusalem temple, but nor did the Israelites in there did have any images set up. Brothers and sisters, this is history from 165 BCE all the way to over 100 years later in 63 BCE. What can we note in this? Things were going on throughout the world. This is a so-called Sunday, Yom Rishon. Sheshit yamin ta'abu wa'asita kol malakteka. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. This is one of those days. It's not the Sabbath. We still say Shalom. You understand? But as we spoke upon here, brothers and sisters, but rather get busy because things could be better. So just like Jacob's sons was told, why you look one to another, I hear that there's bread in Egypt. Just like Joshua told the people, how long will you be slacking getting what the Most High God has given you? By the time we get here to the Maccabees, they already understood we have to defend what is ours. See, Judah Maccabee, Jonathan Maccabee, Simon Maccabee, and the other ones could not sit there and afford to be around the people that going to sit there and tell them, well, you know, things could be worse. I mean, so just accept it. You understand? The Maccabees, whom we talk about, and many of us commemorate in the timing of Hanukkah, could not sit there and afford to be around energies that was telling them ancient Israel is going through it because of the sins of your ancestors. We know that. We all read Deuteronomy 28. Are you going to come with Deuteronomy 30 that says when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse, and you bethink yourself, which means you consider. You don't do, not being racial, what the white dude, the third president, Thomas Jefferson, did with Sally Hemings. I'm going to be quiet and sit there and say nothing about it. Well, I'm just going to fall back and just let it pass. No, brother, getting personal. Yeshaya, if you offended Uziel, go and apologize to the man. Don't sit there and fall back like, I'm going to sit there and just let it pass. That's what Trump hopes to happen. But as you can see, the Democrats are not, no. We will not go back. And I'm not saying we should go out there and be political, but that's one of the things that the Democratic ticket is saying with Kamala Harris. No, we will not go back. You understand? Don't sit there and allow that kind of energy to sit there and get back into you. And these are things that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. So, know what energy to accept, know what energy to give. And getting maybe a little personal, like I told my immediate fam, and like I told my lady just this weekend, like last night, like I'm going to, it's not a hiatus, I'm going to take a spiritual matter for self. So when I come back, I can be better. Solomon said it's a time to speak and a time to refrain from speaking. So not getting personal, but if you are on the internet and you have Mora Yeshaya Hebrew lessons, Mora Yeshaya history lessons, Mora Yeshaya Torah lessons, Mora Yeshaya Old Testament, Mora Yeshaya history lessons too. If you having 4 and 5 platforms, and all together, you have over 500 videos from 2014 to now, and you might be running out of things to say, you might just want to regroup, fall back, take time for self. So when you come back, you can come back better than you was. We're supposed to be better than our ancestors, you know that? See, that's what our book teaches us. And the Most High will multiply you and make you better than your ancestors. Can we imagine that we will be better than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Some of us might be like, oh, hold on now. But it tells us that Abraham wanted Isaac to be better than him. Isaac wanted Jacob to be better than him. Jacob wanted Judah and his brothers to be better than him. You're supposed to want better for the future. Unless you're a sap. Unless I just take, and I'm an energy vampire, and I don't sit there and give nothing back. What do we know in the house of Yisrael? Your brother, you asked, can you react to the past videos? Yes, please. My brother Adonia, yes, you can. Thank you for that. When you appear, and may he rest in peace, Chief Naphtali one time pointed this out. When you appear, it says in Leviticus, before the Most High, you come with something. Saul, before he was going to meet Samuel, he said, what shall we bring? You come when you appear with something, whatever it is, with gifts. And this is why other communities go higher than the said Black community. It's not because you're Black. It's because when they go and visit, they bring something. In business, they tell you that. Let's exchange this in matter of what they call good faith. But the sap energy, the taking and never reciprocating energy, the monotone energy, what the book of Proverbs described as the man who points with his fingers and scrapes with his feet, or what the book of Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha talks about when it says the ways of a light woman. When it says in the ways of a light woman, is nothing is serious. Everything is comical. When it talks in Proverbs about the man that scrapes with his feet and points with his fingers, is the person who will never want to become great. And how dare you ever want to be great? Do you think the men, correct me if I'm wrong, unless they change their ways, that Moses was talking to in Exodus when he sat there and said, "Oh, you gonna kill me like you killed the Egyptian"? You think that person was trying to run when the sea opened? You good being oppressed and oppressing yourself in the land of your captivity. So when it's time to go and be great, when the sea opens, I don't know. I don't know. When you ask questions about things, I don't know. You get like Trump was in the interview with the journalist, trying to change the subject for everything, instead of just saying, well, you brought me here. No, because somebody was not kissing your behind. Because somebody wasn't acquiescing to you like they do on Fox News. Or because you're a yes men in the scriptures, like in the time of King Ahab. Go up, oh Ahab, you shall sit there and defeat the Arameans. Something don't sound right. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we sit there and care to bring out for reference purposes. What is the point in going over that history that you see there on the screen? Is this. The Maccabees were not about being complacent. The fact they were not about being complacent showed that they were always involved. They didn't take the back seat. They didn't sit there and say, I just sit there and I sit back and I watch and I observe. No, we're going to make things happen in Israel. That's what the Maccabees were about. That's why we talk about Hanukkah in 2024. If they were about taking the back seat, then how could Hanukkah ever exist? When Yisrael did leave up out the land in Egypt, you had to have a mindset that by the time you get 40 years later in the book of Joshua, many of us already being over 40 years old, I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt. So you don't have to keep on saying, I was a slave. I was a slave. Because when you go in Deuteronomy 26, and it says, a wandering Aramean was my father, and he went down to sojourn in Egypt, and he was oppressed. And then it says, but the Most High brought us out. See, that's the part that the slave Bible doesn't talk about. It talks about Joseph going down into Egypt. It talks about Jacob going down in Egypt. It doesn't talk about the children of Israel being relieved out of that. That's an oppressive mindset. Did you know that in slavery they had a own version of the Bible that does not have the Exodus? They circulated that in the 19th century. But those who know the story know that you was eventually brought up out of that. So how would it look for the Philistines or Moabites or any other nation until the Israelites? You were in Egypt. Yeah, we were, but I'm not there now. And don't let people, male or female, who have not reached his or her potential tell you that you are arrogant. No. A brother or sister showing their works is not arrogant. If a brother wrote a book or a sister does dresses and you showing it on or offline, it's not arrogant. If a brother is a chef or a sister is a chef and you're talking about it, that's not arrogant. That's showing the Most High's work in you. So that's how, and this is something that I'm not going to mention the name because I overheard it. Sometimes people say, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I overheard somebody say, no, speak on what you want to do, because that is how you find out who your friends are. Tell people, I want to be great in this. And everybody who will sit there and see it is how you then be able to sit there and be told from the Ruach, from the spirit, Ruach meaning spirit, on who your peoples and your friends and your good associates are. Because a good friend and associate, even if it isn't for him or her, is never going to sit there and state that you're arrogant, you're belligerent, you're disrespectful, you're self-centered, you're narcissist when you want to sit there and get something accomplished. You just had to talk. Yes, I talk about my books, and I'm going to sit there and speak upon such, brothers and sisters, because a brother went from having a speech impediment, public enemy, to now writing in different languages. When I was in preschool and kindergarten, they used to sit there and wonder if I had the ability to speak correctly. Now, a brother has over 500 videos, some in different languages. Glory to the Most High God. So you don't know where one has come from. Brothers and sisters, did you know where you shy of talking? Did you know that I had a speech impediment and could not sit there and talk properly when I was a child? That day is over. Glory to the Most High. The book of Psalms, correct me if I'm wrong, it says, let the redeemed of the Most High say so. I shall not die, but live and declare the works of Yah. That goes by the praises from your mouth. So if you, in a situation like myself, went from having a speech impediment, where my tongue did not go all the way to the cleft of my mouth to pronounce the letter L correctly, for those who do know my childhood, like my biological sister who knows that, you understand? Now being able to sit there and speak much more better. I was laughed at by immediate family and everything, like, yeah. They used to sit there and do things like, say this, and then I would try to say it, and they would laugh at me. But it wasn't even a thing of teasing. I did it just to be humorous with them. It wasn't like they was picking on me. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the distinction stay with that too. But we want to, brothers and sisters, point this out. So when you might see a person, you always online, you always talking. I would not 40 years ago been able, if the internet was around, to be able to do the same thing because I had a speech impediment. So when you sit there and you can read, let the redeemed of the Most High say so. You went from having a speech impediment to working inside of school. You went from having a speech impediment, you went from not to be self-centered, being what they call special ed or special education, to having a degree. Don't ever, brothers and sisters, let somebody tell you where you need to be when he or she has not walked in your shoes. Separate from that ruach. Brothers and sisters, so when I sat there and told my immediate family, when I sat there and told my lady, those who are closer to me, that I'm going to need time to self-evaluate. What impression is one making? And this is the ruach that brother woke up with today in this particular case. The Maccabees that you see in the list here, brothers and sisters, did not have the mindset to say, I'm just going to sit back, Do you know Hebrew? Yisrael, Yod-Sin, Resh, Aleph, Lamed. If I can be heard well and people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. So far, I see my brother Yirmiyahu, I see my brother Adonia, I see my brother Yirmiyahu Naftali, and Yirmiyahu Yisrael, one on the Facebook, one on the YouTube. And I'm going to state this Hebraically, if you will. Do you know that the Y sound, Yod-Sin, Resh, Aleph, Lamed, do you know that the Y sound is future tense, third person masculine? Get the book, Hebrews Easy Volume 3. It's on Amazon for those who want it. Yisrael is a future tense word. So we can't just be, though we love history, like the Maccabees, we can't just be stuck there. The Maccabees was not stuck in the southern kingdom. When the northern kingdom fell, the southern kingdom was not stuck when the kingdoms were united. It's a different time. We got to sit there and still what? Get busy and make things happen. I made the example earlier, brothers and sisters, and I know it's a wild example. Don't become complacent because things could be worse. If you have a person that, heaven forbid, has gonorrhea, things can be worse than that. But rather, get busy, go and get the herbs, go and get the medicine because things could be better. Yeah, syphilis and gonorrhea, to my knowledge, stays in your blood for the rest of your life. And it can always be detected that it was there because the blood tells your story. But it's your story. Once you get healed from that, you can't be guilty of it. David said, man, in other words, human, has no mercy. Do you know if our intestines treated us the way we as people treat each other, we'll all be dead? If our kidneys, if our colon, if our small intestine, if our stomach, our esophagus, our lungs, because the people I come from impart smoke, no disrespect intended. If our lungs, if our kidneys, if our heart, our literal heart, if it treated us the way that we treat each other and not being merciful, you know what? You've been feeding me garbage since you was a child. You've been feeding me junk since you was able to run to the store to get it. If your colon would be able to speak and say, you've been giving me ding-dongs, cupcakes, sugary products, ever since you was able to run. And no disrespect itself, it was in my case, I could steal the money to run to the store when I was a child. I'm no longer a thief. I can walk in my integrity, working honestly for the money that I get and say, hold that. Yes, give me the change. I do need the change. Because sidebar, if you want to sit there and say, this is $4.22. This is $4.68. Now I give you $5. I want my dimes, nickels, and quarters. Because I don't know about other states in America, but in New York, they charge you 5 cents for the bag, the paper bag. So yeah, I want the change back. I earned it. My immediate family, and I'm gonna get maybe a little personal in this, and others close to me wonder why I do certain things. Brother, you're my man. You will sit there and in your luggage, if you didn't make it to the laundry before your vacation, bring the clothes to wash. Yes, I will. I'm big on laundry. That's a pet peeve. I can't sit with dirty clothes. Some people can't sit with dirty dishes. I can't sit around dirty clothes and be okay. I'm got to get this clean. Me and Ty are friends. Me and Whisk, W-I-S-K, used to be friends until I heard Whisk Cat Pork. I was like, oh my gosh, you understand? But me and the laundromat are friends. Yes, I will bring it from New York City in LaGuardia Airport on American Airlines to Charlotte, North Carolina, and go to the La Quinta, to the Candlewood hotels, and use the laundry there with the clothes that were put aside that were not clean from New York because it's part of the amenities that come with it. because I got to pay $30 for them to hold the luggage. And I can't use that same $30 for them to do the laundry. And I don't have the time over 30 minutes because I got to get this flight. So people who know me well actually wonder, like, you actually, yes, I do. Part of the amenities. But you can't say I got dirty clothes, can you? No, you can't say that. So, brothers and sisters, looking at it, say in that particular case, we know the Maccabees was not about, I'm going to just sit around and wait. We got to sit there and make things happen, brothers and sisters. And it doesn't make you arrogant for it either. It doesn't make you self-centered either to want to get things accomplished. What it could make you is lazy if you don't want to. Brothers and sisters. What it could make you is becoming idle if you don't want to. We have to sit there and be great. We're supposed to be. Deuteronomy 30 is telling you the Most High will make you greater than your fathers. Who would have ever thought we can be greater than David? Greater than what? Moses? Israel don't sit there and focus on that. No disrespect. We're going to read Deuteronomy 28 again. And you should go into Egypt again and shit. We've been reading that for over 40, 50 years, man. We done sat there and had people, scholars go up into that. And it's not to knock it, but how long are we going to read about us being in ships? That's one verse. There's a whole other set of verses that tells us to go and be great. And guess what, brothers and sisters? If the Most High, through his prophets, is telling you to go and do something and you don't, what is that? See, going into Egypt / captivity in ships was a prophecy. Going and being great is a commandment. We can't stop prophecy. But can we stop ourselves from being great? And another generation will come up. Because it's not you didn't want the land and numbers. Okay, kill you all. And then I'm going to sit there and replace you all with your children that you didn't sit there and instill in them to be great. You told your children you can be just like me. Brothers and sisters, let's get personal in this matter. My little princess, who is always going to be, people sit there and say, don't call her a little one. That's my only child. I'm going to call her little one forever. Forever. Let me get that right. I only have one little child. The child is not quote little, practically grown. And brothers and sisters, she has and anticipated in the next 3 years union with the man that she's with. You know how some fathers, for the lack of a better term, block their doors? No, you know, my daughter can never be with nobody. But if you only have one child, then how you expect to have grandchildren if you're always saying, no, my child can't? So you can't sit there and, with your child, make a child. That's perversion. So you was with somebody else's daughter to make your child, but your child who is now pregnant, for those who hearing what I'm saying, now what you want to do? You understand? I don't mean to get too personal or anything of that kind of sort, but now that you was with somebody else's daughter 19 so years ago and making a child, and now your child is having a child. Now what do? Do you sit there and state, brothers and sisters, well, you know what? Be single. No. The generation that's born of our people, like in the wilderness, from the 1970s and into the 1980s, when we say that we were the best generation because we used to sit there and climb trees and had clubhouses and made things with dirt and was able to sit there and not be all on the phone or on the computer. Generation X or whatever they want to sit there and refer to. I don't know how those things go with that. Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Alpha, I don't know all of that. What I'm saying, nonetheless, is this. When you start talking about from those born from 1970 until 1985, In many cases, was born out of wedlock. In many cases, was born into broken homes. The matter of trying to change that is good. You understand? You're supposed to want to change that particular thing for the better. Your children's supposed to do better than you, and not you be jealous of your child, like some people could be. We don't want that. There is a meme that went around, and I spoke on it before. Who's the first in a man's life? Is it his mother? Is it his daughter? Is it his baby mama, or is it his wife? I'm going to do a presentation on that in the future. But essentially, no. I'm not even going to try to dignify that with an answer. Why? Because if you have a meme that says who's the first in a man's life, his mama, his woman, his wife, his lady, his baby mama, or his daughter, first off, the daughter is the younger generation. So you got three women, the mother, one generation, the baby mama and wife, another generation, and then the daughter. How do you even equate three generations and sit there and ask who's the most important in a man's life, unless you got a bunch of catty women who sit there and are jealous of others? His relationship with his daughter, or his relationship with his mother, or his relationship in respect, though he is with someone, with the mother of his child, co-parenting. That kind of mindset is something that is toxic, brothers and sisters. It's better to be by yourself than with someone who's miserable. I have to tell the people, don't be miserable. See, this is why we want to bring this out here. Don't become complacent. Well, I was born out of wedlock, or may as well continue the cycle. No, change it, because things could be worse. But rather, take the wisdom from Bobby Darnold, whoever stated this, but rather get busy, because things could be better. So these are things, brothers and sisters, in that these people we read of, from Judah Maccabee all the way down to Aristobulus, on this slide right here, in this presentation right here, they wasn't about just, well, things are just the way they are. It is what it is. Brothers and sisters, I'm not saying it's good, right? I'm not saying it's bad or wrong for the inhalation of herbs, for those who know where I'm going. But I know in New York City, right, they have what they call legal spots for cannabis in different stores. Now, how does that tie into what we're talking about in being great? Many brothers and sisters caught criminal charges over dealing with cannabis in the 90s. I remember seeing people, for those who do know New York City, I remember seeing people on what they call Jamaica Avenue, the Coliseum block. The cops used to have people lined up after they did a raid. You heard of LL Cool J, the rapper, and he started talking about farmers what? Farmers what? On Farmers Boulevard in Queens, no dry snitching, was a big place for everybody in Queens in New York City, by where the rap group, the Lost Boys, where the rapper 50 Cent area come from, to go sit there and buy the trees. They did a raid on that one time. Now, all of a sudden, it's legal. And you can sit there and sell it on 6th Avenue, and you can sell it in the street. No. Never trust thine enemy. How are you locking up brothers and sisters and having them catching cases? And now, all of a sudden, the same government wants to sit there and say, hey, it's good now. And that stuff that they're dealing with is bad. How does that tie into this? How do you have a lack of employment and jobs, but the cannabis stores are opening, but the stores that sell shirts, bow ties, cufflinks, ties, vest pants are closing? Yes, Dr. Brother wrote in there, stop and frisk on the Facebook. Yes, in that case. So, taking what It's all good. I'm 37 minutes behind, but praise God forever for your wisdom and understanding. The unjust weight in regards to apologies truly resonates. Yes. If you apologize, and I'm not trying to be racial, like Don Imus, the white man, is different than the white man, Donald Trump. Both offended. Donald Trump said things offensive. Don Imus said things offensive. One apologized. So when Al Sharpton is there with, excuse my language, his daughter saying, "Is my daughter a nappy-headed hoe?" You just want to sit there and kick Don Imus when he's already down. And he said, "I apologize enough." Now, whether you accept it or not, that's on you. That's why taking it back to Israel, when he said, "Bring it back to the house of Israel." David said, "Don't deliver me in their hands. The man, oh Yah, for man has no mercy." Because man will sit there and stab you. When I say man, I'm talking about people. Will sit there and stab you and then tell you wrong. You apologize, but you wrong. And you apologize, but you wrong. But here, no, we're not doing that. You're not bringing one down in that case because we have to go and be great. We can't sit there and go and be great with people who have a low frequency mindset and want to bring such down. No, we can't do that. The Maccabees had to sit there and no, take heed to your friends and separate from your enemies. For those who just joined on, we appreciate. A brother is like, "Oh, Yeshua is always online. This brother's always talking." For those who do know, I'm 44. 40 years ago, when I had a speech impediment, if the internet was there, I couldn't speak like that. I used to sit there and write sloppily when writing. Now a brother is up there writing other things. I had a job. I'm not going to use, even though I have on Maury Yeshua history lessons, the exact language that was told to me from a supervisor. I'm going to get you the bleep out of here. And there was no bleep stated. We're all at the job site, and I was told from a supervisor that I'm going to get you the bleep out of here. That was said on a Wednesday. That said Sunday, I resigned. No, I will not be there that Monday. I'm resigning. When you have the power and the ability, you don't let somebody, and the person again did not use no bleep, straight F-bomb. You don't let nobody, excuse me, F with you when you can sit there and get things to be better. Let me point this out and keeping the language clean, brothers and sisters. Don't become complacent because things could be worse. The people who want to F you, excuse my language for that, are telling you things could be worse. That is, for the lack of a better term, the effery. Don't get that done to you. That's why Samson said, "Let me die this way. At least the Philistines come and make sport of me." What is he talking about? When Samson said the Philistines make a sport, the Philistines in part were Sodomites. They're talking about you know what. No. Don't let them do that to me. I'd rather sit there and let the building hit me before I'm going to say the effery happens. That's another thing the Maccabees was about. It will be better to fall off this mountain than to let the Greeks come and do what they want to do. So, brothers and sisters, no, I'm not sitting up there saying that we should put buildings on ourselves. I'm not sitting up there saying, brothers and sisters, that we should sit there and jump off a cliff like the Maccabees did, like the Maroons in Brazil did. I'm not saying when we should, depending upon said situation. Because we want to talk what? Life to each other. There's so much death in this earth. That's one of the things that made me want to write a Hebrew book. You know, there's a college Hebrew book, good book as far as the vocabulary, somewhat, as far as the knowledge of Hebrew. But your vocabulary is like, I'm sick. I need to go to the doctor. I'm not teaching that in Maury Yeshua Hebrew lessons. I'd rather go over the linguistics of the word rapa, to heal, as opposed to the word kala, to be sick. I'd rather go over the linguistics of haya, to be, as opposed to going over the linguistics of gawa, to perish. It's better, I believe, to go over the linguistics of hayat, to live, as opposed to, you just said, mate, death, to die. No, we want to talk life, brothers and sisters. It's not that things don't exist. A time to cry and a time to laugh. Baka to cry. Zakak to laugh. A time to be born, hiwaled, and a time to die, lamawit or mawit, so forth. But brothers and sisters, what we want to promote is when we greet and say what? What do we greet? Can somebody type that into the chat? When Israelites greet each other, and for those of our people who do not acknowledge themselves as Israel, whether you say it in any language, how do most of our people greet each other? Whether we acknowledge ourselves and know ourselves as Israelites or not. Can someone type it into the chat? Thank you. Shalom Aleichem, the brother wrote. And that's true. See, we say Shalom Aleichem. We don't say Melchama. You know what Melchama means? War. That's not how we greet each other, brothers and sisters. And that's my point. Shalom, Mashalom Ka, the brother wrote, meaning, how is your peace to a male? Or Mashalom Mek, how is your peace when speaking to a female? That's how we greet. Not, yes, yes. Because I know when I was a child, I was taught how to answer the phone manually. And then when I started working in the workplace, yeah, that's manual for the home, but at the job, it's a little different. So it's all about learning. Be teachable. The righteous falls 7 times and gets up. The wicked fall and no more. So if you offend, and you're not forgiven, just think about if our bodies physically were to treat us the way we treat each other. If our colon was a state, as pointed out, you've been feeding me garbage for over 30 years. If our small intestine would have been like, you ain't put nothing healthy in my circumference for a whole month, how would we feel? Let's continue, family. Hold on. You was not there when I was studying to get the information, buying the pens, pads, and taking notes. You was not there when I worked so I can pay to be in the email thing room, not apartment, LOL, to write. Use the computer. You was not there when I had to get juice living in the Bronx at 2 a.m. from the store that had the window open due to the door being locked at that time. The Bronx is a place in New York City, for those who do know. You was not there when I had to eat leftovers due to not cooking because I had to spend time getting references from the library because they do not allow certain books to be taken, used outside of the library. You know, certain books you can just use in the library and can't check it out. Where were you then? If you did not get me a cup of water when I was writing a book in Virginia and ordering from Arby's, if you was not there when I had to stop due to my finger hurting from typing, if you was not there when I was tired and kept typing and typed mistakes and fall asleep due to trying to make a deadline for my book to be released, if you was not letting me use your phone to argue with Lulu, a publishing company, when they did something funny with a book I wanted published, if you were not there when I had to upload to Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing or Amazon KDP and have them take 60% of each sale because I had to pay rent, phone, and clothes and food, and could not spend thousands on a company like Book Baby because with publishing, the more money you put in, the more you get out. So with the books that I did, I went through Amazon KDP doing it, and then they take 60 or so percent out of each book sale. Whereas if you paid the 2,500 or so forth, you would have gotten more royalties per sale. Miss me with the foolery, thinking you have control on my spirit and writing. This is what we're talking about. Talking things from the Maccabees on downtown with this. The brother wrote, "You wasn't with me shooting in the gym." When people practicing, just take it for instance, basketball, were you there passing the ball back to the brother? Were you there sitting up there trying to coach and say, you know what, don't shoot it like that, shoot it like this? Were you like my teacher, Imatamikia, who my mother not having a car, drove my mother, my sister, and I home after she taught the Hebrew class in 1993, 1994? Where were you then? To sit there and think you got a monopoly to talk on what someone is accomplishing now. This team go to different places. Were you there in the relationship with him or her, depending upon your gender, and now there's a child there, and you want to tell a person how to raise their child when you, man or woman, didn't go through what she went through with baby daddy drama? The stretch mark, the vomiting in the morning, the things that women go through when dealing with pregnancy. My mother told me the last month of the trimester, of the third trimester, she wasn't able to walk on the ground. So my uncle and my father, may all three of them rest in peace, used to have to sit there and help my mother walk, stepping outside, because I was so heavy on the womb. Now that mommy's gone for 20 years, dad gone 30 years, and uncle gone almost a little over 10 years, we say. Where were you when Yeshaya was inside the womb? The Most High talked to Jeremiah and said, when I formed you in your mother's womb, I consecrated you. May she rest in peace, not being self-centered. My mother said she was brought in this way of life for me to learn this. She said that. My mom, may she rest in peace, used to say that in camps. Like, yeah, I came into this so my son can learn it. And our brother, glory to the Most High, has books out. Where that was happening for you to sit there and think, you talking about your books, I'm giving glory to the Most High God. If your platform, if your channel, if your can't handle that, that's your problem. You don't ever silence your light because people want to stay in the dark. You got people talking today that stupidity exists because intelligence is afraid to talk. Where were you when all of that was going on? When mommy came home one day and sat there and said, I'm 19. She said, son, man, you got to write your book. Where were you if you wasn't even there when the pallbearers brought her to the grave to tell somebody what to do with something that you had nothing to do with? Camp, who have you? No, you was not there when she saw what she saw on the bus and had the spirit to come in and tell her son, you need to write your book. But let the people sit there and have no ambition, no drive, no goal, no focus. You know what they'll say to that? You're arrogant. You always talking about, yes, I am. Glory to the Most High God. The man and woman who can sing, yes, they are always going to talk about and do sing because that's what he or she does. The person that is a painter is always going to talk about burnt umber, red ink, black ink, paint brushes. And guess what? We're going to have an art show. But take a brother or a sister who can't paint and who's hateful, they're going to say, "Oh, you arrogant. You don't think so?" It happened in the scriptures. The Most High put Moses in the position that Moses is in. And what did his people say? You take too much on yourself. Use me. I beg your pardon, O thou who dost not see thy own light. The Most High put Moses in a position. And the people were saying to him, you take too much on yourself. I'm not comparing myself to Moses, but if a brother's able to sit there and get something accomplished and people were saying, you always doing that, and we're talking about it, that's no different than going to one, giving a commission and establishment by the Most High God and saying, you're doing so much. Or you're talking about so much. They want you to dim your knowledge, your life, your purpose, your goal, because they're not your friend and truth. This is what we want to talk about. That's why when we read in the Apocrypha, take heed to your friends and separate from your enemies. You can't grow and be great listening to people who think that you're self-centered. Israel, we've been teaching, and it's not a false teaching, for quite a while. Be humble, be humble, be humble, be humble, be humble, be humble. Anah is the Hebrew word for such. Be humble, and that's good. But what about being great? What about being courageous? That's in the Bible too. Be courageous. It's in Deuteronomy. It's in Joshua. You have to know that there's a fine line between the person who has the spirit for growth and using one's potential. Because you have those, not comparing ourselves, say, to even the great prophets. Moses, can you help? Jeremiah, can you help? But these are the people that you felt to say you take too much on yourself. See, the people who told the prophet Moses, you take too much on yourself. The whole congregation is holy. And you are holy. And you are entitled to your holiness. So go in with it and be great. But no, you have the Saul concept against David. David has slain his 10,000, tallest thousands. David is younger than Jonathan. So Saul is definitely old enough to be David's father. So here you are, older black man, not to be racial, jealous of the young black man. What does that sound like if not the really niche? I put the old black male versus the young black male. Did Saul have a Willie Lynch concept? They said that, they killed 10,000. Yeah. What? Supposed to be happy for somebody else. I saw two sisters singing years ago. When I say singing, I mean singing. I'm not going to mention who, but they are, I'm going to take the liberty to say they are biologically related. And they were both good singers. And they kept doing a duo, like a duet, you might say. And I was like, that's nice. No animosity or this is me and mine and I got to shine and why you getting the spotlight? I talk about my brother Uziel from DCB. I'm not going to mention other names, but I asked the drummers. For those who do know the congregation DCB, they are very good with playing the music. And I asked the drummers there this question. I said, who do you think is the best drummer? The response was, this brother being one of the best drummers that I personally ever seen growing up. I don't judge who's better. And that hit me. That hit me like a mallet. Like, wow, that's real. I personally cannot drum. I personally cannot sing. But if you want to see a group break up, start making comparisons that don't need to be. Start saying this person's better than this person. Start saying this person sings or rhymes or paints or teaches or is or runs better than this person. That's why I like boxing. I will always be a boxing fan of Tyson. He lost to Lennox Lewis. You win some, you lose some. I'm not going to stop being your fan because you got an eye Jimmy, Mr. Tyson, because Lennox Lewis is a better or whatever fighter than you, because they're both better boxers than myself. Because Tyson, the boxer, he dropped many a brother, many other people. Tyson knocked out a lot of people, dropped a lot of people, but you win some, you lose some. So you lost to Buster Douglas in 1989 in Japan. You lost to Lennox Lewis. You win some, you lose some. It comes with the territory. But you don't stay a loser. You go and be great. Tyson is seen chilling with people in the islands, doing the cannabis or whatever it is, and he's dancing and having a good time. Tyson cannot be seen doing that if he was in 89. I almost lost, my boxing license because I bit Holyfield here. If he stayed in a situation where he was in trouble for doing something such as biting Evander Holyfield's ear, he could never be great. Just using these people as an example. For those who know boxing, at one point, Evander Holyfield and Tyson was having a boxing match. And Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear, which is not what he was supposed to do. To my knowledge, he apologized for it. In order for each of them to move on, he had to apologize. Holyfield had to accept. How can you go and be great if you're staying? I'm going to be upset for the rest of I don't know how long I'm going to live, but I'm going to be upset for the rest of it. And then that will be your misery. Because whoever was the party offering forgiveness, he or she moved on. And this is something I got from my little princess. She said, don't apologize for the same thing twice. Your apology was heard first when you first said it. My child, I was 26. She's not 26. And I heard her say that. Don't apologize for the same thing twice. If you took somebody's cookie and apologized, and you took somebody's cookie again and apologized again, don't apologize the third time unless you took the person's cookie the third time. Because you're stopping your growth. Staying in an apologetic spirit. And that's not healthy. I have, in the course of becoming an author, glory to the Creator, spoke upon my book, and advertised on others' platforms, whether they acknowledge themselves as Israel or not. And one platform did not want my books to be advertised, but it's okay. But come to find out, your platform is about lasciviousness. So it's like kind of maybe better that I looked into it and not even have it advertised on there. But can't let that stop you. Strowman, Home Pride, Wonder, Hostess. Maybe some of them things ain't even permissible for us as Israel to eat. When they make their bread, they don't worry about the next person or the next company. When Home Pride makes their bread for sandwiches or whatever. They're not worried, brothers and sisters, about strawman bread. Home Pride is doing what Home Pride does. So go and be great. Maybe brothers can teach me. Does LeBron James not go and be a good basketball player because of Wilt Chamberlain, who was good in his time? When it says Noah was righteous in his generation, does that mean in our generation we don't do it because, well, Noah did it? Do we as Israel not teach because they were already teachers? My Hebrew teacher, Kohen Mikael, most I continue to bless his life. He wrote books. I never met him, but Rudolph Winslow made the most I continue to bless his life. He wrote books. Moses Farrar, I have met him. He wrote books. Do you think Dirk Muller, who wrote a book about the Black Hebrews, is not going to write because Rudolph Winslow wrote? No. Do you think one platform is not going to do something because another platform? No. If you wise for your stuff. And the purpose of these kind of presentations is to break the breaches that we have within self and with others. Joseph was about repairing that breach. His brothers didn't forgive themselves. So, brothers and sisters, let's look. You was not there when I was studying to get the information, buying the pens, pads, and taking notes. See, a person didn't ask somebody, can you sit there and send me something to the Western Union because I got to sit there and buy this? No. A person waited till one got paid and then went to the store and bought stuff. Asking while staying in a room and not even a whole apartment to write using a computer. At one point, not mentioned in this slide, when the internet acted up, I wrote in the Egypt Talk book, giving a shout out to the people at FedEx who allowed me to use their internet to sit there and get the book typed because my internet at home was not working right. Where were you when a brother had to sit there and carry the books from one place to the next to go to FedEx because the internet wasn't there? Did you let me use your internet? Nope. So therefore, now that these things are accomplished, you have virtually and realistically nothing to state when one speaks about what one does. Because you didn't help buy the shoes that a person used to walk in, nor do you know the shoe that one used. You understand? You wasn't there with the matter of the water, like it says of the children of Moab and Ammon. When you came up out of Egypt, they didn't meet you with water and bread when you was coming out of slavery. They met you with a witch to sit there and curse you. So know how people stay with you. Know how people want to be around you and support you. That's very important because it says don't make no friendship with Moab and Ammon because they hired somebody to come against you. They didn't come to you with bread and water like we're friends. You've been going through this, that, and the third, and you know what I'm saying? All right, you good now? You good? Like they say, you good, I'm good kind of thing. Moab didn't come to Israel with that. You got in your feelings and wanted to curse the children of Israel. So Israel is supposed to be nationalistic, and us as individuals are supposed to be healthy, self-centered. Go and be great. You can't do that being around those who don't want to be great himself or herself, because he or she energy vampire will drain you, will step you, and then you like, man, listen, dog, you know. And that's why we want to go over this kind of matter. Let's continue, brothers and sisters. Some citations to speak on as we close out, if we will, brothers and sisters. Cast out the scorner, and strife and contention will cease. You know who said that in a movie? I don't know his name, but it was the grandfather in a movie menace to society. Cain, you're out there beating people up in front of the door. This is not a good look. In the movie Menace to Society, cast out the scorner, and strife and contention will cease. Some rest not unless they cause some to fall. That's in Proverbs. You know, there are people who are what you might call sappers or energy vampires or takers or whatever term we may use. And unless you're falling down where he or she can sit there and then kick you when you're in that state, that's how they get. I don't get revenge. I just retaliate. That kind of matter right there, that's that spirit. Cast that out so you can grow. Forsake the foolish and go in the way of understanding, not just forsake the foolish and live. It also says, and go in the way of understanding. Separate from your enemies and take heed to your friends. All of that is within the Bible and the Apocrypha that we've been studying as Israel for quite some time, family. So don't let anyone bring you down. Go and be good and be great. Be a light, a bright light, not a dark light, a positive light, brothers and sisters. So giving honor to the Most High, Shalom.